The silent war the world above was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that carried weight, pressing down on every soul still alive. Beneath the ground, inside a narrow shelter carved out of old steel and concrete, a human sat alone. His name was Daniel. Daniel had learned to hate silence. It was not peace. It was not rest. Silence meant the war was still going on. It meant the purge squads were still searching. And it meant he was still trapped here, hidden like a rat in the dark. He lived in shadows, breathing recycled air, eating what little dried food remained. He did not dare to go outside unless it was night, and even then, he stayed close to the shelter. The galaxy's hunters did not need much to find a survivor. A single footprint, a single sound, a single mistake. For months, Daniel's world was nothing but walls, dim lights, and silence. But one night, as silence changed. It started small, a faint scratch. At first, Daniel thought it was the wind pressing against old metal sheets. But then the scratch came again. And again, slow, careful, like something or someone was digging through the earth. Daniel froze, listening hard. His heart thudded in his chest. The sound came from the far wall, the one packed with hard soil. The scratching was steady now, like claws raking stone. He grabbed the only weapon he had, a rusty knife. His knuckles turned white as he gripped it, eyes locked on the wall. The scratching stopped. For a long moment, there was silence again. Daniel almost believed it had been his imagination. Then thunk. A dull hit, like something knocking against the steel beam that reinforced the wall. His blood turned cold. Daniel stepped back, knife raised. He had heard of purge squads using drones, small machines that could dig, cut, and slip through hidden tunnels. If they found him, it was over. The scratching grew louder, faster. Dust began to fall from the ceiling. The sound of soil collapsing filled the shelter. Something was definitely digging through. Then, suddenly, the wall broke. A small tunnel opened, spilling dirt across the floor. Daniel raised his knife, ready to strike. His breath caught in his throat as something pushed its way through. Not a machine, not a soldier, a figure, a girl. Her body was covered in patches of white fur, dirty and tangled from the soil. Long rabbit-like ears twitched on her head, hanging low as if tired. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, wide and desperate. She crawled forward, coughing, gasping for air. Daniel's knife trembled in his hand. He had heard of aliens like her, fast, clever, and hunted just like humans. But why had she dug into his shelter? She looked at him, and for a moment, neither moved. She whispered in broken words, her voice hoarse. Safe? Here? Daniel didn't answer. He tightened his grip on the knife, torn between fear and confusion. Rabbit Girl didn't move closer. She only sat in the dirt, chest rising and falling as she tried to catch her breath. Her eyes flicked nervously back at the tunnel behind her. She shook her head and whispered again, louder this time. No, go. Back, bad outside. Her ears twitched sharply, and Daniel heard it too. From the tunnel came a faint echo, something moving, something crawling. He felt the air grow colder. The girl pressed herself against the wall, shivering. She did not try to take his food. She did not try to attack. She only looked terrified. Terrified of whatever was out there. Daniel lowered his knife slightly. His instincts screamed to push her out, to block the tunnel, to protect himself. But another voice in his head whispered, if she's afraid, then what is she running from? The scratching came again, this time from deep inside the tunnel. Louder, closer. Daniel's mouth went dry. The rabbit girl whispered one last word, her voice breaking, please. Daniel stood frozen, a knife trembling in his hand, his heart pounding so hard He thought it would burst through his chest. The war outside had always been silent. Silent skies. Silent streets. But now, the silence was broken. Something had found them. And Daniel realized the real war had just begun. The unwanted. Guess Daniel stood frozen in the shelter, the knife still clutched tight in his hand. The rabbit girl crouched near the broken tunnel, her ears pressed flat against her head. Her whole body trembled. The scratching in the tunnel grew louder, closer. Then it stopped. Silence again. Daniel hated silence. The girl's glowing eyes darted to his, pleading without words. She whispered in broken human tongue. Block it, now. Daniel's mind raced. If he blocked the tunnel, he trapped himself inside with her. If he didn't, whatever followed her would come through. He moved quickly, dragging an old steel crate across the floor. Together, they shoved it against the hole. Dust rained down, and the shelter walls groaned. For a moment, nothing moved. Then thump. Something struck the other side of the barrier. The girl whimpered and pressed her back against the crate. Daniel stepped back, knife raised. The banging came again, harder this time. The metal crate shook, but held Dot then. Nothing. Silence once. More. The girl's chest heaved as she tried to calm herself. She hugged her knees to her chest, ears twitching. Daniel watched her carefully, still unsure if she was friend or foe. Why here? He asked, his voice low and rough from disuse. She blinked, struggling with the words. Safe, smell. No machine here. No drone. She tapped her nose. I follow smell. Human. Daniel frowned. She had tracked him by scent? That was impossible. Or maybe not. Her kind was alien. He knew little about them. Only rumors whispered in survivor camps before they were destroyed. Some said they were slaves once, rebels now. Others said they betrayed their own. Daniel didn't care about stories. All he cared about was survival. You can't stay, he said coldly. His voice echoed in the shelter. The girl's ears drooped. Her voice cracked as she whispered, No outside. Hunt, they hunt me. Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to push her out, to shove her back through the tunnel and seal it forever. But her eyes stopped him. They were wide and desperate. The eyes of someone who had seen too much. Dot, and then there was the sound. From beyond the tunnel, faint but clear scraping. Not claws this time, not digging. A strange metallic buzz, like a machine turning on. Daniel's skin prickled. He knew that sound. Purge drones. The girl pressed her hands over her ears and whispered rapidly in her own tongue. Daniel couldn't understand, but he didn't need to. She was terrified. He turned off the shelter lights, plunging them into darkness. The buzzing grew louder for a few seconds, then faded away. Only then did he breathe again. Dot, in the dim glow from a small emergency lamp, he saw the girl staring at him. Her fur was dirty, her clothes torn and ragged. She looked more like a wild creature than a soldier or spy. Daniel sighed and lowered the knife, though he didn't let go of it. One night, he muttered. You stay one night. The girl tilted her head, her long ears twitching. Slowly, she nodded. She whispered a word he barely understood. Thanks. She crawled to a corner, curling up like a frightened animal. Daniel sat across from her, his back to the wall, knife still in his hand. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Hours passed. The air was heavy, thick with dust and fear. Daniel's eyes stayed half shut, but he didn't sleep. He watched her. She didn't move except for her ears, which twitched at every distant noise. Dot at last. Near dawn, she whispered again, her voice soft, almost broken. They come for you too, not only me. All human, all rabbit, no difference. Daniel's heart sank. He wanted to tell her she was wrong, that humans were the main target. But deep down, He knew she was right. The Purge didn't care. Anything not part of the Empire was marked for death. For the first time, Daniel realized something unsettling. He wasn't just hiding from the galaxy's hunters. He was hiding from Extinction Dot, and now, so was she. The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. Daniel finally closed his eyes. But in the darkness of his mind, he saw something worse than silence. He saw the crate against the wall, slowly sliding open. He saw glowing red, eyes in the dirt tunnel. And he heard it. That soft, endless sound. Scrape, scrape, the silent. War was not over. It was only beginning. Broken trust, the morning light never reached Daniel's shelter. Buried under dirt and steel, it was always dim, always heavy with silence. Daniel sat by the steel door, sharpening his knife against a stone. The sound scrape, scrape, scrape was the only rhythm in the room. The rabbit girl stirred from the outer corner where she had slept. Her ears twitched, catching the faintest vibrations in the air. She sat up slowly, her glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. "Why knife always in hand?" she asked, her words broken, but her meaning clear. Daniel didn't look at her. "Because I don't trust you." Her ears drooped. "I saved you last night. I warn. I helped push crate. You still. No trust?" Daniel stopped sharpening. His gaze hardened. "You broke into my shelter. You brought them here. You're not my friend." The girl hugged her knees to her chest, silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "If I enemy, you die already." Daniel's grip on the knife tightened. She was right, and that made him angry. He stood and checked the food supplies. 2 cans left. Half a bottle of water. Enough for 1 man. Not 2. The rabbit girl watched him, eyes following every movement. "You want me gone?" "Yes," Daniel said flatly. "But outside, I die. You know this." Her voice shook, but there was fire in her eyes. Daniel slammed the knife into the wooden table, making her flinch. "Then that's your problem, not mine." Silence filled the room. The only sound was the hum of the emergency lamp. The girl's breathing grew uneven, like she was holding back words. Finally she whispered, "Humans. Always alone. Always cold." Daniel looked at her sharply. "And your kind? What are you? Some Empire pet? Some failed rebel? Why should I trust you?" Her eyes darkened. She stood, ears stiff, and stepped closer. "We fight too. We bleed too, my people. They burn us, same as you, same fire, same drones." Her voice cracked, but she did not back down. "You think I spy? You think I trick? Then kill me now." Daniel's hand twitched toward the knife. For a heartbeat, he considered it. Ending this problem now. Ending the risk. But he couldn't. He turned away, furious with himself. "Stay in the corner. Don't move. Don't touch anything." The girl's ears lowered again, but she obeyed, sitting back down. The hours passed heavy and slow. Daniel worked on repairing a broken filter while keeping one eye on her. She sat, curled up, but her gaze never left him. Every scrape of the filter, every breath, every heartbeat felt too loud. Then dash, thud. Both of them froze. The sound came from above. Dust rained from the ceiling. Daniel mouthed silently. "Drones." The girl's ears twitched wildly. She pressed her hand over her mouth to stay quiet. Another thud. Then a faint metallic whine, like a scanner sweeping the ground. The purge drones were moving overhead, searching. Daniel switched off the emergency lamp. Darkness swallowed the shelter. His heart pounded. The girl shifted closer without sound, her breath shaky. In the dark, Daniel felt her hand brush his arm. She whispered so faintly he almost didn't hear. "If they find, we fight together?" Daniel did not answer. Minutes dragged by like hours. Finally, the buzzing faded. The thuds moved away. Silence returned, but heavier than before. Daniel lit the lamp again. His face was pale. The girl's hand still rested on his arm. He pulled away sharply. "Don't touch me." Her ears twitched, hurt flickering in her eyes. But she didn't argue. Daniel sat down, exhausted, running his hands through his hair. The shelter suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. Two people in one cage, bound by silence, bound by fear. The girl whispered, "You hate me, but you need me, same as I need you." Daniel glared at her. "You're wrong." But deep down, he knew she was right. He hated it. He hated it. He hated himself. The war outside had taken everything from him. Now, inside his own shelter, it was stealing the last thing he had left, his trust. And as he sat in the flickering lamplight, Daniel realized something chilling. The war outside was nothing compared to the war inside these four walls. And this war had only just begun. The fractured alliance, the night was endless inside the shelter. Daniel sat awake, staring at the steel door, knife gripped tightly in his hand. The rabbit girl slept against the wall, ears twitching even in dreams. He could not relax, not while she was here. Not while the world outside hunted them both. When morning came, Daniel checked the supplies again. 2 cans of food, a few drops of water left. The math was simple, too simple. 1 would survive. 2 would starve. The rabbit girl woke and stretched, her ears brushing the ceiling. Her glowing eyes blinked at him. "You don't sleep," she said softly. Daniel didn't answer. He shoved a can into her hands. "Eat, quietly." She blinked in surprise. "You share?" "Don't think it means anything," Daniel muttered. "We need strength to move." "Move? Where?" Her ears rose in alarm. Daniel pulled out a rough map, hand-drawn on scraps of paper. "The drones sweep this sector every 3 days. They'll come back tonight. If we stay here, we're dead." The girl studied the map with sharp eyes. "You know tunnels. You know safe ways." Daniel nodded. "I built them." "And you dug into them without asking." Her ears lowered. "I was running. I had no place. I saw ground weak. I dig. I find you." Daniel's jaw clenched. "You found trouble." But he needed her. He hated that. Truth. Her ears caught sounds before he could. Her hands moved faster than his. Alone, he had survived. With her, maybe he had a chance against the drones. After eating in silence, Daniel packed his knife, the last water, and a small flashlight. "We leave at dusk," he said. The girl tilted her head. "Together?" Daniel met her eyes coldly. "For now." By dusk, they crawled into the narrow tunnel. The dirt pressed in on both sides, the air stale. Daniel led with the flashlight, careful to step softly. The girl followed close, her ears brushing the low ceiling. Halfway through, she froze. Her ears stiffened. Daniel turned. "What is it?" "Sound," she whispered. "Metal, far, hunting." Daniel killed the flashlight. Darkness swallowed them. A faint hum drifted through the earth. The drones. Daniel's chest tightened. He motioned for silence. They crouched in the dark, breaths shallow. The sound grew louder, then faded, like a monster circling overhead. When it was gone, Daniel relit the flashlight. The girl's face was pale, her body shaking. "You hear things before me," Daniel admitted quietly. "That's the only reason you're still alive." She gave a small, bitter smile. "Then you need me." Daniel didn't answer. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber, an old supply cache Daniel had built years ago. Metal crates lined the walls, covered in dust. Daniel pried one open. Inside, old tools, wires, and broken circuits. Another crate held water filters. Another, canned. Food long expired. The rabbit girl's eyes lit up. Food? Daniel shook his head. Rotten. She sat on the ground, ears drooping. Then why here? Daniel pulled a small device from one of the crates. A shortwave radio. Dusty, half broken, but maybe. He wiped it clean and turned the knobs. Static filled the room. The girl's ears twitched at the noise. What is this? Maybe a signal, Daniel muttered. Maybe someone's still alive. But before he could try, the radio hissed louder. A voice broken, distorted whispered. Through the static. Don't trust her. Daniel froze. The rabbit girl's ears shot up. The voice repeated, twisted and warped. She will betray. Daniel's blood ran cold. He turned sharply to the girl. Her eyes were wide, her hands raised. Not me. Not me. The radio crackled and died. Silence. Daniel's knife was in his hand before he realized it. What was that? The girl shook her head violently. Not me. Machine lies. You know this. Daniel's heart pounded. Was it a warning? A trap? Was she leading him somewhere? The girl stepped closer. Daniel, I fight with you. I hear danger. I warn you. If I enemy, you dead long ago. Daniel's grip on the knife tightened. The memory of her hand on his arm in the dark, the memory of her whisper. If they find, we fight together flashed through his mind. He lowered the blade, but his eyes stayed sharp. One mistake, just one, and I end this. The rabbit girl nodded slowly. Then no mistake. They sat in silence as the lamp flickered. The world outside was already trying to tear them apart. Daniel realized something chilling. The war against the drones was simple. The real danger was here. Between them, an uneasy alliance, fragile as glass. One crack, and everything would shatter. The escape attempt, the tunnel stretched on like a throat of the earth, swallowing sound and light. Daniel's flashlight flickered as he led the way, his grip tight on the handle. Behind him, the rabbit girl followed quietly, her sharp ears twitching at every sound. They hadn't spoken since the radio. The words "don't trust her" still echoed. In Daniel's mind, each step he felt her eyes on his back. Each breath reminded him of the knife at his belt. Finally, the tunnel split into two. One path led upward, faint air drifting down. The other sloped deeper into the ground. Daniel knelt and touched the dirt. The upward path was fresh, disturbed. The deeper path smelled stale, old. The rabbit girl crouched beside him. They patrol above, she whispered. I hear small machines. Wings, Daniel frowned. Drones. Her ears tilted, focusing. 4, maybe 5, waiting. Daniel clenched his jaw. Then we take the deep path. The girl hesitated. Old tunnels, not safe, neither is the surface. Daniel's voice was firm. Move. The deeper tunnel twisted and narrowed until Daniel had to crawl. Dust filled his throat. The air felt heavy, stale, as if the earth itself resisted them. Then clit. Daniel froze. The girl's ears snapped forward. Trap, she hissed. A thin red beam cut across the tunnel, barely visible in the dust. Daniel cursed under his breath. He had set this trap years ago, in case invaders found his tunnels. Now it turned against him. Slowly, carefully, he slid the flashlight under the beam, showing the crude explosive rig buried in the wall. One wrong move and the tunnel would collapse. Rabbit Girl crawled closer. I disarm? She offered. Her hands trembled. Daniel studied her. Could she be trusted with this? Or was this the moment the warning voice spoke of? Her glowing eyes met his. Trust, or we die. Daniel handed her the flashlight. She moved with surprising speed, her thin fingers working the wires. A bead of sweat rolled down her temple. She twisted one wire, then another. For a moment, Daniel thought she had failed. Click. The light blinked out. The trap was dead. She exhaled sharply, ears falling back. Safe. Daniel nodded, though his heart still raced. Not bad. For the first time, a small smile tugged at her lips. I dig. I build. Not only run. Daniel didn't smile back. But inside, a crack formed in his wall of suspicion. They pushed deeper until the tunnel opened into a cavern. Stalactites dripped water into shallow pools. A faint breeze whispered through cracks in the stone. Freedom. Daniel lifted the flashlight and saw an opening above an old escape shaft leading to the forest. But the rabbit girl stiffened. Her ears twitched violently. They wait, she breathed. Daniel killed the light. Silence fell. Then WHIRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRR pulse quickened. They had found the exit. They were hunting. The girl grabbed his arm. "We fight?" Daniel's mind raced. His knife was useless against machines. The girl's claws could not reach them in the air, but maybe the cavern could. He scanned the ceiling. Loose stone, cracks. If he brought it down, it might block the drones, or bury them alive. Girl saw his eyes and shook her head. Too risky. "We don't have a choice," Daniel whispered. He pulled one of the old charges from his packed tiny explosives meant for digging. He placed it against the wall near the ceiling cracks. The girl helped steady his hand. "If fall wrong, we die. If we don't try, we die anyway," Daniel muttered. He lit the fuse. The cavern shook. A deafening roar filled the space as stone crashed down. The shaft collapsed in a storm of dust and rubble. Sparks flashed above as drones shrieked in mechanical tones. Crushed beneath the falling rocks, Daniel pulled the girl down, covering her with his body. Dust filled his lungs. The earth trembled. Then still silence. When the air cleared, Daniel coughed and pushed himself up. The shaft was gone, sealed with rock. The drones were silent. The rabbit girl's ears drooped as she looked at the blocked escape. Now, trapped. Daniel wiped dust from his face, forcing down despair. Alive, that's what matters. But deep inside, he knew the truth. The drones would not stop. The tunnels were running out. And every move they made, the world outside grew closer. The girl's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, fixed on him. "We together now," she said softly. Daniel didn't answer. He only gripped his knife tighter, because survival was no longer about escaping the machines. It was about surviving each other. The last betrayal, the cavern air grew heavy after the collapse. Dust floated in thick clouds, clinging to skin and choking. Every breath. Daniel leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling. The rabbit girl sat nearby, her glowing eyes fixed on him, never blinking. For hours, neither spoke. The silence pressed harder than the weight of the earth above. Finally, Daniel broke it. "You knew they'd be waiting." Her ears twitched. "I heard them. I told you." "No," Daniel said coldly. "You led me here, right into their trap." The girl tilted her head, her long ears swaying. "I saved you. Twice now. Trap. Drones. You live because I helped." Daniel's grip tightened on his knife. He wanted to believe her, but the radio's warning echoed in his skull. Don't trust her. They decided to rest in shifts. Daniel closed his eyes, but sleep never came. His body stayed tense, every muscle wired. A sound woke him. Scratch, scratch. His eyes flew open. The rabbit girl was crouched at the cavern wall, claws digging furiously into the dirt. She was opening another tunnel. "Stop," Daniel ordered. She froze. Slowly she turned, dirt covering her hands and face. Her glowing eyes looked almost feral in the dim light. "I dig," she whispered. "It is what I do. We need way out." Daniel rose, knife in hand. "Or you're digging a signal. A beacon for them to find us." Her ears flattened. "No. Then why do it while I sleep?" His voice was low, sharp. The girl stood slowly, her claws dripping soil. "Because you don't trust me. Because you watch me like enemy." "I thought? If I dig, I prove myself." Daniel didn't lower the knife. The silence stretched. Then mash thump. A faint vibration shook the ground. Dust drifted from the cavern ceiling. Daniel's heart pounded. "What did you do?" The girl's ears shot upright. She shook her head violently. "Not me. Them. They come." The vibration grew louder, steadier, like marching feet. Not drones this time, something heavier. Daniel and the rabbit girl pressed against the cavern wall. The ground trembled as if machines above were tearing through the earth. "They found us," Daniel whispered. The girl clutched his arm. "We move, now." He shoved her hand away. "How convenient. They show up right after you start digging." Her voice broke, almost pleading. "I swear, not me." The cavern ceiling cracked. Dust rained down. A sharp metal claw punched through. The stone, grasping, tearing, Daniel grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the half-dug tunnel. "Move!" They crawled into the narrow shaft as the cavern behind them collapsed under the weight of machines. The roar of drills and claws filled. The air, Daniel's lungs burned. The tunnel was barely wide enough to squeeze through. The rabbit girl wriggled ahead with inhuman speed, her claws ripping at the dirt. "Faster!" Daniel shouted. The tunnel shook violently. A massive claw tore through the earth behind them, shredding rock like paper. The girl dug harder, dirt flying, her breathing ragged. Almost through, light appeared ahead. A faint glow, but Daniel's suspicion returned with a cruel whisper in his mind. "She's leading you again." Was the glow an exit? Or another trap? They burst into a chamber lit by cracks in the stone. A sliver of moonlight spilled in, cold and pale. Daniel fell to his knees, gasping. The girl crouched by the wall, her ears twitching wildly, eyes fixed on him. "See?" She whispered, "I saved us again." Daniel looked at her. Sweat ran down his face, but his knife was still in his hand. "I can't keep wondering if you're saving me," he said slowly, "or delivering me." Her expression hardened, the glow in her eyes dimming. "You want truth? Fine. I came to your shelter first night because I had no choice. My people gone. Machines hunt me too. You think I'm spy? Then kill me now. But if you do, you will never leave these tunnels alive." The chamber shook again. The sound of machines drilled closer. Daniel raised the knife. His hand trembled. His breath came in sharp bursts. The rabbit girl stood tall, baring her claws. Her voice was a whisper in the dark. "Do it, human, betray me. Or trust me one last time." The choice weighed heavier than the earth above. Behind them, the machines roared louder. And Daniel finally understood, no matter what he chose, one of them would betray the other before the night was done. The final stand the chamber shook like a living beast, dust falling in choking waves. The grinding sound of machines came closer, the walls trembling under their weight. Daniel's grip on the knife tightened. His hand shook, but not from fear. He was standing on the edge of a decision that could not be undone. The rabbit girl's glowing eyes locked on him. She didn't flinch, didn't move. Her claws curled at her sides. "Kill me if you must," she said softly, "but then you die here too." Daniel's chest heaved. Every instinct screamed she's the enemy, but another voice whispered she has saved you twice. The wall behind them cracked open, and a steel claw tore through, shrieking as sparks flew. The machine was seconds away. Daniel's jaw tightened. He lowered the knife. "Then prove it," he hissed. "Prove you're not with them." The rabbit girl didn't argue. She turned, leapt at the broken wall, and with a scream that echoed like thunder, she tore at the machine with her claws. Sparks exploded. Metal shrieked. She was no spy, she was a fighter. Daniel's eyes widened. The girl moved with wild, unnatural strength, ripping into the machine like it was prey. Its claws lashed out, slicing the air, but she ducked, spun, and plunged her hands deep into its glowing core. With a violent jerk, she pulled free a cluster of wires. The machine collapsed in a storm of sparks. Daniel stared, stunned. She turned back to him, her chest heaving, fur and skin smeared with oil and dust. Her glowing eyes burned bright. "Now you believe?" For the first time, Daniel didn't answer with suspicion. He nodded. The machines weren't stopping. "Hey." Chamber walls trembled again as more claws pierced through. They were surrounded. Daniel looked at the moonlight spilling through a crack above. "An exit small, but real. Can you dig us up there?" he asked. The rabbit girl studied the crack, her ears twitching. "Maybe, but not fast enough." The first machine crawled through the opening, its body like a spider made of steel. Red eyes lit the chamber. Behind it, more shadows moved. Daniel raised his rifle. The battery was almost dead, but it would have to do. He glanced at her. "Then, we fight until you can." For once she didn't argue. The machines poured in. Daniel fired, each blast cracking the darkness with blue light. The first spider collapsed in a shower of sparks. Another replaced it. Beside him, the rabbit girl was a blur of claws and fury. She leapt onto one machine's back, tearing into its armor. Her shriek echoed, raw and wild, a sound that made even the machines pause. But there were too many. One machine's claw raked Daniel's side. Pain ripped through him, hot and sharp. He staggered, blood seeping through his shirt. The girl saw. "Itch!" She screamed and lunged, ripping the machine apart with bare hands. Her claws dripped oil and sparks. She didn't stop. She carved a path through them, savage and unstoppable. Daniel gasped, pressing his wound, but he kept firing. His rifle hissed empty. He raised his knife instead, slashing at any machine that came near. The chamber shook violently. The ceiling cracked wider. Moonlight spilled in, brighter now. The rabbit girl turned, panting. "I can dig through. Hold them." Daniel nodded, staggering to his feet. He braced himself, knife in hand, standing in front of her like a shield. Machines surged forward. He slashed, stabbed, punched, every strike fueled by rage. Behind him, the rabbit girl clawed upward, dirt and stone flying. Her voice rose in a desperate cry. Almost through. A machine lunged at Daniel. He shoved the knife deep into its glowing eye. It sparked and died, but another claw raked his back. He collapsed to his knees, breath ragged. The rabbit girl looked back, eyes wide. "Daniel!" He forced a smile through bloodied lips. "Don't stop. Dig." The ceiling burst open. Moonlight,